What's up, everybody? Welcome. This is the Pixelcast Game Club. My name is Ian, and I am one of your hosts, and I am joined by my friends and boisterous cast of characters, starting with Brian with a B.
Hi, it's me, Brian with the B. I invented that bit the last show, and now I'm gonna
It
sleep
is
in
now.
this bed that I've made.
Yes, now it is written in stone. That is the bit. Now we are doing that for the rest of the time now because I really liked it.
Yes,
I
hello,
stole
I'm
it.
Brian with a B.
Yes, and then I'm going to tell you I stole some other writings of yours, so sue me. Next,
That's fine. It's like Star Wars. It rhymes.
next we have Ryan with an R. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm rhyming all the time. Whoa! Anyway, I need more Elegant Tombstones of comedy this week. I have not kept up yet. Don't worry about
Which
that.
is, you think you'd have plenty of those because we're all a bunch of jokes.
Yes.
Oh, God damn, the cuts deep.
And then lastly, we have Jordan with a J.
Hi. When you introduced Brian, I immediately thought of, hi, I am Brian Dog. I don't know what that's immediately what came to mind. But
We're playing Ultrakill, and just because Maxor exists on
yes,
the internet in this day and
gonna
age,
have to come up
okay.
eventually.
there are so many times where I did the Ultrakilling, and then I just kind of like crouched on my desk and said, "I am inside your walls."
I need to watch that now. I will actually get all the jokes in those videos now.
Yeah, much like how I believe with Maxor's videos, those videos are very sensory overload for me, and I can only handle one of those things at a time. And
make sure you're sitting down.
Epilepsy warning.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for this game. I can only handle about an hour at a time. I needed to take breaks, a lot of breaks.
Like all at once.
Yeah. I played the section all the way through, and let me tell you, I was so overstimulated. I was like radiating. I was nuclear at that point.
I know, basically. So we'll get into that finally, but let's see. So this is the Pixelcast Game Club. We are a group of friends, a group of good old pals. We get together, play through a game simultaneously that we have decided, and come back and discuss everything that we played, like a good old-fashioned book club, but of course with video games. So the purpose of this show is to play games not typically in our wheelhouses, games that are new to us, games that some of us want to revisit and show everyone else here on the show, or games we missed when we were younger, maybe have skipped them or left unfinished for a number of possible reasons. But now we're fully mature adult gamers, and we will be playing along with each other at the same time, comparing notes and just having a good old time. So going into it, the way we do things is off camera, we pitch games and then eventually come to an agreement as to what game that we will be playing. But the person who pitched that game that we collectively decide to play then has the wonderful job of being the main host of the episode or episodes for that game. And the main host for this episode is Jordan with a J, because we decided to play the game he pitched, Ultrakill. All right, Jordan, take it away.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everybody for kind of indulging me on this one. A little backstory to kind of how I came into this game. Brian introduced me to a YouTuber named Maxor. You've already heard us talk about him.
I'm sorry.
No, I am honestly, don't watch much YouTube content, so this is pretty much like one of the only consistent YouTubers that I watch now. So I know I'm very thankful for it. But it also introduced me to this game, which his video is just hilarious. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it if you don't like understanding what's on your screen, but enjoying a lot of meme references. But I kind of fell into that, and I just watched the video several times, and then I was just kind of like, this game looks really fun. I kind of want to give it a shot. So yeah, if you're into boomer shooters and Crash Bandicoot, then this is definitely the game for you. So
if you're into boomer shooters, Crash Bandicoot, and you want to know what a panic attack feels like,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, as the game kind of introduces, mankind is dead, blood is fuel, and hell is full. So today we're kind of just going to go through all of this stuff nice and easily here. So we're just going to give a little background on the studio that made this game, as well as the creator of the game himself.
games
And
for
then,
iOS.
I know, check that out. It's on a Mac. It's not. But we're going to discuss each level as a layer. So we're not going to go. There's like about 4, maybe sometimes I think the Prelude is 5 in one. We're just going to discuss them on a layer basis. I feel like that's a little bit more concise and direct for the discussion, as opposed to going level by level. We'd be here all night. But yeah, so let's just jump right into it. So some of the history. Fun fact: I didn't go to Comic-Con this year, but that's actually San Diego Comic-Con. they had a New Blood wrap for the trolley, which I was like, that's pretty freaking cool.
That's very sick.
And
yeah,
New Blood is in San Diego, so that's probably why there was advertising at Comic-Con. The New Blood. Well, you'll probably get into it. Sorry if I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, you're good. Actually, that is not something I included, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, but New Blood is the company that published the game. They didn't. I mean, and they probably helped with development, maybe here and there, because they do have developers. But New Blood is stationed in, I believe, Oceanside, California.
Oh, that's a stone's throw away. We may know a guy who knows a guy who.
Yeah, exactly.
New Blood.
You've been passed out in a bar next to the guy that works there.
Yeah, if you haven't, for listeners, if you haven't put two and two together, we obviously live in San Diego County.
And we will not dox ourselves further.
San Diego County is big enough that you will never be able to find us.
We live in the bottom left of the map.
Near this hurricane. But yeah, so essentially just some background on New Blood. Obviously, I know it was directly made by Hakita, but New Blood was the studio that helped publish this. And they were founded in 2014. They kind of started with virtual reality games. That was at least the concept they were driving for. It actually never really kind of went anywhere. And they ended up joining up with, I believe it's an individual named Clink Scales. They had a Kickstarter game, and New Blood just kind of jumped in and helped support it financially with some of the assets as well. And they were able to publish that. We'll kind of get into some of the titles for that. And that ultimately led to Ultrakill being released. I think like very pre-early was 2019, but 2020 is when it was available for early access. And also for the team, as of 2022, they're only comprised of 25 individuals. So they're a pretty small development team. So kind of due to that smaller scale, there are individuals who work on specific projects, but then they kind of all hop around and help each other out with different assets for the games that they're all working on. So it's kind of interesting to look at a really small studio, able to kind of pump out some interesting games and support some other creators that are trying to get their games out there. So I just thought that was really interesting. Also, that they use Discord entirely for their collaboration. So they don't use like Slack, Teams, and stuff like that you would think. It's pretty gamer roots. So
hell yeah,
they use Discord for all their collaboration, which is pretty interesting.
Certified gamer.
Yeah, they're as cool as we are, really.
Yeah, honestly.
Fuck all that project management software bullshit.
Yeah, who needs it? You got Discord. And for the games that they made, they kind of got known for their boomer shooters. I believe Dusk was the first one that they did, but that was kind of one of the ones that really stood out. Yeah, and that was kind of what made them gain a lot of support financially, and that essentially got them to be able to create Ultrakill because of the success of that game. Hakita is the creator of that. Ultrakill was the game that he developed, and then New Blood was just the studio that supported it and offered a little bit of assistance with some of the creation of it.
And also, can you go back real quick?
Yeah.
I like the URL on the thing, devilmayquake.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple. I'm gonna have to look those up later. Those look good.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Honestly, I saw that. I was just looking up some fun photos, and I was like, damn it, I didn't go to Comic-Con this year. That would have been so cool to see.
Yeah.
The owner of New Blood is, I follow him on Twitter, and he does a lot of funny ass things where he like buys really stupid like URLs. And so they probably like, who knows, I this is just a shot in the dark. Maybe a fan probably was like, this is like Devil May Quake or something, and they're like, you know what, that's the URL for the game.
Yeah,
because that's the type of guy he is. He just like says funny shit, or like something funny will happen, and then they'll put it like, hey, put this in the game, it'll be funny.
Yeah, no, it seems like they have a very unique perspective on some of the stuff they put in their games. And looking kind of at the games that they made, so these are all the games that they have, and then as well as one included coming up. So started the first one was Super Galaxy Squadron. That was the Kickstarter game. And that kind of went through with Dusk being that boomer shooter, Amid Evil, which I'm honestly not too familiar with. Same with Unfortunate Spacemen. And then leading ultimately Ultrakill also released in that same year as Unfortunate Spacemen. And then there's a few titles here on the left that came out after, as well as a TBA one that actually doesn't have a release date. That's called Fallen Aces. But yeah, these are all the games that they have at least worked on. They may not have developed directly. They may have just been the publisher for that. But yeah, they kind of do these cute little posters. And I actually know on their merch store, you can buy that Ultrakill poster. Like, it just looks like a movie poster.
Yeah.
So all of these, I believe they sell, which is pretty cool. It's pretty interesting.
I'm gonna throw some conjecture at the elephant in the room, and I'm gonna assume that Unfortunate Spacemen is an Amogus clone.
You know, that's a great guess. I have no idea.
Maybe.
I haven't looked it up, but
I'm not gonna look it up. I'm just gonna assume that and be happy.
and just enjoy with that.
And
Simply live with the unknowledge.
after playing Dusk, I never finished it, but I also, because New Blood also helped with a Medieval, I bought a Medieval on a Steam sale at one point, but then I haven't even touched it. One of the many games that you buy and don't touch on Steam.
It's in the vault.
unfortunately. And I know Gloomwood is a crap. What's that genre called? That was
Wild
like
West?
Prey, Prey and Dishonored. What is that called?
Stealth FPS?
No, hang on.
Sim, something like that.
Immersive sim?
Immersive sim. Yeah,
Immersive sim.
Gloomwood is an immersive sim in the same
Good point.
style as like Dusk and Medieval, Ultrakill, kind of like that PSX, PS1 type graphics, but it's a immersive sim.
I have heard a lot of really good things about Faith. It is apparently very effective.
It looks
as
really
a
cool.
There's actually a lot of these that I've heard of a few, but most I didn't even know were done by them. So there's a lot now on my list that I want to kind of add to it. So I think we have to call this out pretty upfront. So for their merch store, it's kind of interesting. So like I mentioned, they have those posters, which I thought was pretty cool. I also like this little tagline at the bottom. It's kind of littered throughout their website that just says, "We love you and we hate money." So I think that's pretty funny. Overall, they're very casual and maybe a little edgy if you want to call it that way, but it's kind of interesting. I don't think this game has any necessity for body pillows, but you could buy a V1 body pillow and a Gabriel body pillow. So I just thought that was an interesting call out. So yeah, there you go. They have interesting merch, and it's overall they have a very interesting stance for a studio that you maybe don't normally expect that.
They have a really strong sense of humor about what things their audience keys in on and finds enjoyment in.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's just like really interesting looking at that positioning maybe I'm looking at it from like a marketing perspective, but just I don't feel like studios are so casually edgy. Maybe I don't know. Not often. They're always so the professional and they're all that, but I don't think they quite carry that same agreed stance. So, but yeah. All right. Well, we can go ahead and just kind of get started with the game. So again, we're going to kind of break them out by layers. The Prelude is its own standout layer, so it's before even layer 1. You get this kind of really crafty, cool little intro. You can see there in the picture on the left.
I'm such a sucker for intros like that in like horror movies or like any like a lot of the boomer shooters, of course, do this too. Like I think even Dusk does this as well. Just like it just abrasively just covers the whole screen and the music just gets really loud. I'm such a sucker for it.
While you're being swarmed by guys, you just get this fat Ultrakill in your face.
Yeah, because it's like we're under no delusions here. We booted up this game to press spacebar a bunch and left click stuff. That's
true.
That's what we signed up for. That's what we're here for, man. And it delivers.
Yeah, I agree with the intro. I just thought it was really interesting. I just love you walk into the room, the music cuts, and then like right when you pick up the gun, it's just this huge, like you just said with all the music and everything. I don't know, it just like hit really differently.
Yeah.
And the game, it just literally throws you right into it. I think you get a very brief tutorial about what shoot does and what punch is right before this, but you really just get kind of thrown right into the fire. So with the way I have this kind of laid out here on the side, so we can kind of all just talk about our experience going through each of these levels. They're listed there for your memory, a few pictures to jog it a tad bit. In this, you get the revolver, you get the shotgun, and you also encounter the malicious face, the funny rock, as it's referred to as in the memology of this game.
My worst enemy in this entire game. I fucking hated those goddamn faces throughout the whole entire game.
It's because their big laser has a very small window of it. The funny rock has decided where it's going to shoot. There's a very small window where you have to dodge after it's committed to the attack before the attack comes out. There's a very small window where you can dodge.
Yeah.
There is a really funny quirk to these guys where every now and then you can end up on like the top of the hitbox itself, and you can just aura the shit out of his face. It's so good.
Well, and then in this as well too, you get the revolver and the shotgun. I think if I'm remembering right, you do get, I think, the ability to upgrade it. So did you guys enjoy or play around with the coin kind of mechanic at all? That right click where you get to shoot the coins and it's like an auto hit on anybody that's within range?
I only ever really used the coin in order to like consistently switch between weapons and like bring up like style points, but I never really like, and it's cool and it's fun and it's like very creative. But the I didn't use it as like a way to like, oh, this is gonna do a fuck ton of damage and get me through this level, you know.
Yeah, oh definitely.
I was too tempted by the allure of the other alternate because
The
Yeah.
it's
the
so
ricochet shot when you spin it, oh my
the
god.
spin
Yeah, that one's sweet.
noise is so good.
That's a
let me
new
tell
one
you,
as of like a
I
month ago.
Oh man,
I
awesome.
I unlocked the spin move
Uh-huh.
and I unequipped the other revolvers. Straight up just took them off of the belt so that I wouldn't switch to
Yeah.
them by accident. That's how good the spinny move feels.
Well, and a little fun fact about that alternate fire too. We'll get to it later, but you find these little orbs that let you dual wield.
Oh, dude.
In some instances,
Yeah.
you can get multiple arms past two.
Yeah.
But when you do that little spinny move, it actually helps you soft float a little bit. But when you're
Oh.
dual wielding, it actually lets you fly entirely, which is
Like
kind
the
of
fucking
interesting.
rotor?
Yeah, it literally
That's
is like
amazing.
blades, so it'll like soft float you, so you don't like land as harshly. But if you have the dual wield, it'll actually take off, like generate enough lift, which is kind of a funny
That's
detail.
kind of incredible. I
Um,
wish I knew that going in. I would have tried that out.
Oh
Oh yeah,
wow, that's
we'll
hilarious.
get into all that stuff when you started seeing those things a little later. But with so also too with the swords machine, that's one of the maybe earlier a little bit. How do I handle this boss? Was that challenging for anybody, or was it pretty straightforward? As dodge the
It wasn't
sword
too
and
bad for me, at least.
Okay, cool.
I spent a good amount of time trying to learn the parry timing on the sword,
Uh-huh.
and then I just started like dashing in the air instead.
Yeah,
So-
it's a very it's a boss you could kite and kill
Sure.
pretty quick, 2 or 3 attempts at most.
But it's basically a quiz for like, hey, can you consistently lay down the damage while maintaining distance?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Well, so then the only other thing I wanted to see is, did anybody find the secret level with something wicked? Did anybody get to do that?
No,
think I
the
did.
There on the bottom right.
yeah,
I
the
saw a
only
video,
thing
it looks spooky.
no, I only found one secret level, and we'll get to it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
was like they hide these secrets very well.
do.
But granted, I wasn't like looking that hard for them.
Sure.
Whenever there's areas where it was just like floating platforms and you can fall down, I would look around because lots of times there was some of them like hiding under there. But in like the the blue orbs, but in terms of like actual secret levels, I only found one, and that's because I saw it on the Steam Community Center, and he was like, "How to find this?" And I was like, "What?" And so I followed the instructions and then
Got it, yeah.
found it because I was like, "I need to see this," but we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, so then with this one, for the people in the call that don't know it, so there's that blue skull there. You walk in, it's that dark, like the whole room is, the whole maze is kind of this dark. So when you pick up that skull, it says something wicked is coming, and you kind of hear this like hissing in the room, and you have to go find where to place the blue skull, and then in turn find a red skull and walk it to another area to open a door to leave.
Mm-hmm.
While you're doing this, something wicked will spawn on. There's 2 spawn locations for something wicked, and it'll kind of chase you while you're holding a skull. So if you're not holding a skull, you have it on a pedestal, something wicked despawns or doesn't move. I'm not entirely sure.
Oh,
But when you see something wicked, you are able to shoot it, and then I'll make them respawn. But you have to be able to do this. It's an insta kill if they touch you. So
shit.
and you can only see as far as that little light there. So
Oh,
it's,
no.
it's pretty scary. Something wicked looks kind of silly. I don't have an image of them, but they literally just kind of look like a stick figure, a really tall one.
Oh,
Yeah.
in the
And he
light
really
that the
doesn't want you to
skull
find those
casts?
8 pages.
I was about to
Right.
say,
Oh yeah, he's pretty thin. In the light that the skull casts, I would imagine he looks pretty spooky in the,
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
instant that you see him.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, okay, cool. I just want to make sure we'll go over all the secrets if people didn't get them. At least the levels. Some of the orbs and stuff don't really matter as much. But yeah, so then next we kind of jump into Act 1. So officially kind of jumping into the game with the first layer being Limbo. So I thought it was kind of funny because this is supposed to be hell, right? And you walk right in and it's all very pretty, which I guess makes sense for being Limbo, kind of the process of death and moving through hell. So I thought that was pretty interesting. In this layer, you do get the nail gun and you fight the hideous mass and V2. So did anybody have any standout experiences from this layer?
it was the stepping out into the clouds and the trees and the the spacey and calming music was very jarring at first, and the nail gun was probably my least used weapon.
Yeah,
Mm.
same. I would have to agree. There is one level where you see purgatory and you see all the marble and trees and stuff, and you place a red skull down on a pedestal and you walk through a door and all of that's on fire. It's all
Yeah.
wrecked and
Yeah.
on fire.
Yeah, I
That was
Yeah.
remember
pretty
that. That's
good. That's
pretty
a good
funny.
moment in the game.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Yeah, there. Oh, good.
just to talk about like the kind of symbolism, like the storytelling of what's happening, like we're in kind of a pleasant space when you first land here, but it's like we've been falling down this whole time.
Hmm.
You jump into an endless chute to progress, and when you land and you go here and it's pleasant, but it's like there are speakers in the corner of the room,
Yeah.
and it's very obviously a skybox with like banding on it, like it's being displayed on like
Mhm.
LCDs. Like when you inspect it a little bit, you can see that it's artificial. Like these spaces have very clear bounds where it's a physical wall. And if you walk up to the walls, you hear a weird buzzing.
Mhm.
Oh.
Like you're standing really close to a TV.
Oh,
And
that's funny.
that only happens if you turn your sound up a little bit and stand next to any of the walls, you get that. Or the ceiling.
It's like you're in Morgan's apartment in Prey with the looking glass.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I just wanted to give a call out for the nail gun. So I don't know if you guys experimented with all, but something at least. So we'll get into one of the things that I started or tried to do whenever I played through it again. But there is an alternate fire to the nail gun where you kind of throw down these little magnets, little
Yeah.
stakes. I don't know if you tried that. So that was a unique way to bring up your style. You could shoot those magnets and put a bunch of nails in like one spot, and then have a bunch of enemies run into it, like
Mhm.
chase you.
Yeah.
And it would just like rack up your style as like a multi-kill really quickly and do a lot of damage. So that was really helpful for the style side if that was at all somebody trying to get some ranking done for that. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then also we'll go ahead and talk I think a little bit about V2 before I bring up the secret level. But so V2, did anyone have any V2 kind of starts off as this little bit, to me at least when I played the first time, was like kind of challenging because it's you. So you're playing against you, which is an interesting component in the way that it has at this point in the game your entire moveset. So you're fighting a mirror essentially, and that's pretty challenging to some players, but other players it's like super easy. So did anybody have any crazy experiences with that?
It didn't take me too long to beat him. You do end up fighting him again later, but
Mhm.
that fight was a lot harder for
Uh-huh.
me. But the first fight against him wasn't too bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is definitely your first like quote unquote real fight in the game, I think. But
Mhm.
it's not terribly difficult, and you can get by even with the limited
It's
arsenal you have at the moment. Yeah, it's a
Father
good fight.
Gascoigne.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the point of V2 is that he pushes your understanding of the moveset of like if you aren't dashing in midair, sliding, switching weapons to accommodate for distance, closing if you like close weapons, or maintaining distance if you like range.
Mhm.
Like if you're not taking advantage of the rest of your kit, V2 will push you to do that.
Mhm.
And like, but that's because he's showing you what the kit can do. He
Mhm.
closes, he can maintain distance, he switches weapons, he slides, like he does everything. And Maxor's video made me think that he had a voice.
Me
and
too. That was
and
my experience
like
too.
and the fight was so quiet.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was weird just because in Maxor's video he gives this guy so much character.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
But
had the
like,
exact same reaction
that's
you
my
did.
expectations,
Yeah.
not the game being where it's at.
I
Great
think
fight though.
I think this fight really like told me what my strategy was for these larger fights that take a little bit more effort. And a lot of it is just get in there and punch them. Like the
Mhm.
second line of the intro is the most important information you get through the entire game. Is that blood is fuel. You need
Mhm.
to not die.
Yeah.
So this guy's gonna try and kill you pretty bad. If you just
Yeah.
get up in there
So
and punch the hell out of him, you won't die.
so
As long as you keep getting blood.
the big thing that V2 taught me was if you're having a little bit of a rough go of it, dying a couple times back to back and you don't really get why, just swallow your pride for a second and go to the fucking terminal and read the things, because once you've
Mhm.
encountered them once, they have a little entry. It's not going to tell you everything, but it's going to give you a hint. And then the hint for V2 is he switches weapons to respond differently to distance. So if he's firing off revolver shots, get close. If he's whipping out the shotgun, maintain distance. And it's like telling you, hey, there's going to be a rhythm to the fight. The same weapon might not be good the entire time. Switch it up a little bit, you might have an easier time. And when I got stumped, I would be like, okay, there's going to be a hint. Let's find out what the hint is and see if it, gives us a little bit of help.
Well, and Ryan, you brought up a really good point that I liked. I didn't even mention that, but I really like the healing mechanic in this game.
Yes.
That the only way to heal is to be within close proximity of doing damage. And I like that because it makes the game just feel so aggressive that you just have to constantly be in there, like in the fight. You can't just sit in the back with a little revolver and do pew-pews. In crazy fights, you just can't do that with a boomer shooter like that. So it made it really fun to me, where it was just like, wow, like, okay, we're just going. Like, this is just boom, 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 like constant. And I really enjoyed that. It made you not be able to sit idly by and play the game. Like, you had to be a little bit involved. Otherwise, the game would be significantly more challenging.
It is a lot, like, in terms of, let's call it Apex Legends rules, you basically have to undo your knowledge of that. A lot of dying in Apex is about ego checking, which is your opponent will challenge you to a shoot off, and you can lose just because they have the first shot and you think to yourself, oh, I can just kill them, I'm better than them, and you die. Ultrakill says if an enemy gets near you, you just out aggress them, like just get in there, you will be rewarded for drinking their blood.
Yeah.
It's that if you play back, it might be easier to lay down the damage, but your sustain is going to be way worse, and you might just lose out of attrition.
Yes.
Yeah,
always good to be hyper aggressive in this game. And that's very fun.
Don't be passive aggressive, just be aggressive.
Just get in there.
Ian, you had something?
Well, no, I'm just saying it's very I just love that mechanic in general. Just being able to heal, you don't run around and pick up health packs or anything. And it kind of took me a moment and a few levels in layer 1 to kind of actually get used to that concept by okay, I'm low, I need to get in close and shotgun someone right in the face to heal up. My main strategy for healing was getting the variation of the shotgun where you click it a couple times to pump it up and it causes it to do more damage but spread more. So I would pump it twice because that's as much as you can pump it without it hurting you after you shoot it. I don't know if you guys
side best.
Yeah. So my main way I healed would I pull that out, pump it twice, and avoid projectiles as best as I could and slide in and shoot someone and melee them directly after that, especially after you get V2's arm. V2's arm is very good at healing you whenever you punch someone and it blasts them away from you and just it heals you a shit ton.
Because let me say the fully stocked shotgun was one of the only ways you can kind of rocket jump and reach up high places you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But if you're too low health when you try that, you will just die.
Yeah.
It won't leave you at 1. You're just dead.
I found that out the second I bought it. I was just pumped it up a bunch of times and then just shot near the freaking thing and I just died. I was like, what the fuck?
Just blam, oops.
Well, you actually brought up a good point, Ian. So I did forget. Yeah, you and I forgot because I never used it. You get V2's arm. So with that is you lose the parry ability, but you do get the that component of the kind of shockwave. Was there a preference after you guys got that arm that you kind of ended up falling under a specific one, or anything stand out from that?
I used
also
V2.
unequipped it.
Yeah, I did. Me too. But
so
what were you saying?
I used V2s mainly, as I mainly had that equipped, but you can press G to swap between them. So I still kept it I forgot what the normal arm is called. It's called something.
Yeah,
feedback I think. It's feedback or something. I kept that in my back pocket in case there was I used it in a boss fight later on a lot.
Sure.
I kept that one out, so I had it in my back pocket ready to use in case I wanted to experiment with parrying more. But I mainly had the V2 arm to mainly heal. It was even if I didn't have a shotgun out, because I'm terrible at switching weapons in this game. Like you would think after playing computer games for like over 10 years that my fingers would be used to like where buttons are, but I still fuck up a bunch whenever I'm trying to switch to like, like the railgun, but then I accidentally like press 5 or 3 instead or some shit like that. But the melee with the V2 arm was like one of my primary sources of healing, so I kept that most of the time.
Yeah, and actually, I don't want to spend too much time on just layer 1, but with that parry mechanic, I'm sure we may have talked about this before, but before we even started playing, but like you could parry your shotgun bullets and do that. I don't know if anybody experimented with that, but if you shot and punched at the same time, you could create like a little explosive.
It took me a long while for me to actually get that right, but when I did,
Sure.
I actually started using the shotgun.
Definitely. Okay, cool. No, I was just curious. I'm like, yeah, the actual, it's a little crazy how many things in this game you can parry, which I think is pretty funny. But yeah, so real quick, it's not that fancy, so nothing to talk about that really. But the secret level in this, so if you see the picture on the top left, there's a fountain. If you pull out your revolver with the coin, you just flick a coin in that fountain, and it opens, and that's how you get into the secret level there.
That's awesome.
And then if you ever played on your like smartphone or iPhone or whatever with did you ever play like Flow? It's like that pipe game where you connect the colors.
Also known as Pipe Dream, perhaps?
Yeah. It's that one. It's literally that. There's like 26 puzzles down there.
That's
and
awesome.
You just do the puzzles. I don't know why, but you just do puzzles. That's it. That's the level. There's nothing else.
Well, I think it's also a parody of The Witness, which was a big puzzle game made a few years ago.
Yeah,
the name is The
Witness.
Witness.
The Witness is a huge puzzle game.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's very likely what it is. But gotta love it. So then Act 1, and we'll talk about the last picture. But Act 1 for layer 2. So this is I like this level personally, or this whole layer. I just thought it was really interesting, and it introduced a little bit more verticality to some of the interactions you had in the fighting sequences. You also get the rail gun, which, by the way, fun fact about the rail gun, if you got quick with it, you could throw the coins up and switch to the rail gun and use that, and it would stack the damage depending on how many coins it bounces off of. So there's that was a really interesting component for the railgun that is not something I even thought of, I think, until I watched Maxor's video.
Yeah.
Or I didn't think about it until I watched it back. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know you could do that.
You need some real accuracy for that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and I realized it on doing this last playthrough was there's a way there's a button, I forget which I switched it, but you can do it switches back to your previous weapon. So if I had the railgun and then I go to the revolver with the coins, you can just switch between the railgun and the coins, which was really convenient. So there's a whole layer to some of the mechanics there. But yeah, so what were your kind of thoughts though with layer 2?
Looks great. Maybe the best aesthetic in the game, other than what's Greed for layer 4.
Yeah, I like on the top left picture there was the you could see the giant what is it, like the corpse king. That's apparently what it's called. You can see him in the background, and I was like, oh, that's like some siren head bullshit that I'm all over. Because I just love that shit. And then I was like, when I saw him in the distance, I was like, I'm gonna fight that guy, huh? And then sure shit, yeah, you fight him. And his fight actually, I think the Corpse King fight was actually the first fight I actually had a hard time with. It actually took me a bit. And funny enough, I was actually streaming when I got to this part because I was actually just testing my internet. And the part where you're on the rail cart and all the music stops and then the hand pops out of the darkness literally scared the shit out of me. I flinched so hard, and I have that on camera basically, so that's funny.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Then I have me fighting him as well. But yeah, I died a decent amount of times. And in terms of scores, if we're gonna go into scores at some point, I was getting C's and D's all over the place.
Yeah, I think I definitely tanked my scores for V2, Minos, and Gabriel, just because all together back to back, learning, mastering the fight was 25 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
For all of them, and the game's bad, and I'm like,
You
man,
suck.
this shit's hard.
I do think that's I think King Minos is probably one of the more RNG. Well, it mostly is RNG. At a certain point, you can kind of tune into, okay, he's gonna punch to the upper left, so I can dash out of the way and get that and do that like control slam out of the air.
It's that when he lifts his right hand, you have to go all the way to the right. When he lifts his left hand, you have to go all the way to the the way to the left. Like you just have to you have to watch for the tells because the moves come out fast. So the windup is so important to understand. And then in the second phase, that's when it's like, hey, certain attacks you have more wiggle room. The green ones are going to come out a little slower. The red ones are going to come out a little faster. And that fucking black hole that's just going to chase you the entire time.
That guy.
Like you have to learn to manage that between the upper and lower levels.
It's definitely the most chaotic fight, but it also requires the most situational awareness out of any of the fights in this game that I beat. It's a good one. I think I like that one a lot, actually. I like that you can punch his hands. That feels good.
Yeah, I was about to say you can parry his punches, which is super.
Oh my
feels
god,
just awesome.
That's
and you
so
can
funny.
parry. Yeah, you could parry that punch, and it just sends his hand into his face, and it does damage to him. So it's
wow.
It's just that anime level crazy.
It does a good amount of damage. And his animations will stop for a second, so you can just kind of wail on his head.
You should look up Ashura's Wrath if you want to know what I was just thinking when you said that, because it's a lot. That sounds a lot like that.
Well, and an interesting component to this fight that I kind of figured out was if you jump up, you see in that picture his hands are on the left and right. You can shoot those to heal.
Yeah.
Blood will come out of that. So I was like, oh, okay. So I get kind of balancing that. You feel low, you jump up there, right? So, but definitely interesting. I felt like there was a lot more mechanics introduced to this fight that made it substantially more challenging, or at least you had to think a little bit, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, because it's like with Minos and way more with Gabriel, it was really easy if you're not paying attention to feel like they're just doing random shit that is undodgeable and undecipherable. But it's like when you start paying attention, not with the objective of winning, but with the objective of understanding, you start to see the pattern, you start to see how the proper response to something, where you can lay down the damage, where you need to be dodging, what the parry opportunities are. So it's like the first run, it's like there's a period toward the beginning of your go at the boss where you're going to get stomped a lot, and it feels like you don't understand why. But then the final run, I don't remember taking a whole lot of damage because I understood what I needed to do at any given moment. And I think the last run, I don't think I took more than 1 or 2 hits, just because I understood what I was supposed to do against every move he had. And the fight was unlocked. I had him downloaded, and it was the difference in game feel between the first fight and the last fight is palpable. It's very cathartic to get dumpstered by a boss over and over and over again, and then slowly begin to understand. It's good.
Yeah, and I think that's something this game definitely builds on, because the malicious face, right? And then you just see them everywhere. It does that kind of Elden Ring vibe or Dark Souls vibe where you encounter enemies or bosses and then you just see them regularly. And it's kind of like, wow, that may have actually been a little challenging at first, and then now you just fight them all the time. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, I love Capra Demon.
Yeah.
You could say this is the Dark Souls of boomer No, I'm not gonna say it.
Well, and then the last thing I wanted to just touch on, so to explain the picture in the bottom right, that's the secret level.
Wait, let me guess. One sec. Do you get to it by getting on that platform all the way to the right in that first picture?
No.
Okay.
That's what I thought. That's just an orb over there. But good question.
Because I tried getting to that platform all the way out there, and I couldn't. I just couldn't figure out the right way to use the platform and dash to it.
I think you need a weapon that you don't have at that point.
Oh,
I think that's
okay,
correct. Yeah. And then, so this one, it's actually before the Corpse of King Minos fight. It's there's a bunch of water everywhere, you swim under and you do some stuff like that. There's a grinder with a water fountain. I don't know if that rings any bells to anybody. It's that level you encounter that flying greenish ghoul person that kind of teleports.
Yeah.
So it's that level. You have to find some security boxes that turn off all the water and drain it. And then doing that, you're able to go up that waterfall and enter a door.
Like Minecraft,
and you
some shit.
And apparently you fall. into this. And the game it kind of treats it like, it feels very like a dating sim, like, but very Doki Doki vibes, where it's kind of like cute but
Yeah,
scary,
visual
and you're like,
novel.
I'm uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And it's interesting. The dialogue, I should have written some of it down to go over it, but it talks a lot about like introspective thinking about life is meaningless. We all suck, so why try? A lot of like, it sounds like to me, internal dialogue from like the writer, which is a little bit jarring.
Hmm.
And you speak to your dialogue options end up being a little bit more positive, where you're kind of reinforcing that there is hope and you should live your life and do everything.
Are you
And then it kind of
talking
just
to
ends.
V1 in this?
That's what it is depicted, that you're talking to V1 and you're just kind of a mysterious stranger.
Okay.
But
Or
yeah, so you're,
you're the male V1 and that's the female
I
V1.
guess, I'm not too sure. But I think
You're
that's the
you. That's how
assumption.
visual novels work.
Hey,
Yeah, that's
You
what
are
you
well,
would
you.
think. Yeah. Oh
well,
yeah, yeah.
I
besides
guess
also
so, yeah.
robots. How boy girl robot?
Yeah.
How gender if robot?
Well, I can show you this IKEA instructional manual about port A and slot B, etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's the secret level. Nothing really to it. It's just
Hmm.
literally just dialogue. I just thought it was really interesting. But yeah, so moving on. So this is the climax of Act 1. So we're talking about gluttony. There's not really much to go over really here besides the fight with Gabriel, I think, is the main takeaway. I don't
Hmm.
really, the level before is not that significant in my opinion. You don't get any weapons out of this. It's pretty much just the fight with Gabriel. And then
Yeah.
there's a little bit add on here that you see in these other pictures that I will talk about. But what was your experience with fighting Gabriel?
For my money, Gabriel is the hardest fight in the game, or at least in my run.
Oh yeah,
It's a
yeah.
it's
And
a pretty it's a pretty good fight. It's probably, I tend to not sweat when I play video games. That made me sweat quite a bit.
Yeah.
hell yeah. I
Um,
didn't find his the first time you fight him, I didn't find him that bad.
Mhm.
Just like with V2. But the second time around that you do end up fighting these foes, yeah, that's when like they up the ante a lot, and that's when it
are you
actually
talking
became
about
pretty
his
fucking
second
hard.
phase, or are you talking about a rematch later in the game?
The rematch.
Yeah, the rematch is pretty challenging for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, no, he's quick, he's fast. I think it's the first time you like really interact with a boss that is just so fast that you haven't experienced it yet.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So like,
because he has chatter in the level leading up to his fight.
yeah,
He tries to get into your metal head.
yes,
Wink.
your cold machine brain.
Yeah.
There's the screwdriver alternate to the railgun, which I think
Yeah.
was pretty much vital to this boss. And every time I died and then aimed at him and missed the shot
Oh,
to start the
dude.
fight, I was like, well, I better die.
Well, actually,
I usually opened up like a lot of boss fights
Yeah,
just
I
by
opened with the
shooting.
railgun.
Yeah, I opened with the railgun so that it can like get that damage off and so it can recharge while you just fight him.
Yeah.
And then from there, I would pull it out again once it's recharged. And if I need to heal, then I would use a screwdriver so that like you can like heal a bunch from it. And that's the name of the railgun one, right? Is that what the one you're
Yeah.
referring to was a screwdriver?
The screwdriver is an alternate of the
Yeah.
railgun,
Okay. Yeah. And then yeah, when you miss it, like you said, like it's so hurt.
Well, this is so over, yeah.
Yeah,
I
no.
really
Before you
did like
began.
the level design, or just like the art of Belly of the Beast, where the doors are just like teeth. So that
Yeah,
was very
yeah.
unsettling
Oh, I
and
love that
just like
aesthetic,
was
yeah.
just like really
You're-
gross, and so I like that.
You're inside King Minos, really wondering what this dude eats.
Yeah.
That this is what the
Apparently it's
inside of
angel.
his body. Yeah, apparently. Yeah. Learning the Gabriel fight felt like in the last game we played, Metal Gear Rising, I played through that on hard mode, and
Mhm.
the Jetstream Sam fight was very punishing, but it was fair and it was consistent in a way that like I was kind of excited when I died late into the fight, because I got to do the whole thing over again. I was a little excited.
Mm,
And with Gabriel, I got the same thing
that's
of
sick.
like the first stage of like getting folded in half. He beat the brakes off me. Like literally no contest. I couldn't understand what was happening. And then there was a period in the middle where I was like understanding what was going on. I read the tooltip in the console, and then I started paying more attention to like when he manifests what weapons, what do they do? Okay, it's consistent. this is this response, parry this one, dodge this one. And then I just started learning the proper responses instead of just blindly flailing and like blindly mashing shift and spacebar without looking at him, without trying to see what he was doing. And like once you understand what the proper responses are, you kind of stop being afraid of him, and you can consistently lay down damage while just perfectly answering every move he has. And that felt really, really good.
So it's like
it is, once again, it is every time he like flies away, it's no, you son of a bitch, you better get back here. I need you to get back here right now.
Yeah, of like dodging out when he lands, dodging in to do a fully charged revolver shot into a punch before he's finished resolving his animation to do something else, like just sneaking in to get that damage because you know where you can. It felt really good. The tooltip that helped me the most in this one was he's very honorable and proud, and while he's talking shit, he's not going to attack. So whenever a subtitle comes up with his name on it, you just go in there and you just beat on him like you're trying to cut down a tree in Minecraft with no axe.
You got me monologuing.
Yeah. You just get in there and fuck him up. But man, Gabriel was a treat, and he was a lot of fun.
He is maybe the only guy that I've taken seriously that calls you a fuck.
Yeah.
You insignificant fuck.
And dude,
He means it
his
too.
voice actor is just so good at the delivery of
Johnny's
those
a
lines.
very, very funny fella.
Love it. Well, so I kind of wanted to call out these bottom two bosses here. So I actually did this, but in the belly of the beast, there's kind of this crisscross, like kind of sandstone looking bony stairs that like go up to the top to, I think, get to the end of the level. But there's a platform off to the side. You can jump on it and go through it. And then you get to this door here that's on the second picture there on the right. And so what those are, those P's. So that's every level in Act 1. And you have to get a P rank, which means you get an S for all 3 categories in every level in Act 1 for that door to open. So that means S for the time, S for kills, and S for style. And you can't die. If you die once and you still manage to get 3 S's, you just get an S. You have to do it without dying. If you complete all of those levels, it opens this door, which presents you with 2 secret bosses. And they were extremely hard. They were very challenging, but I thought that was cool. I like that that's included in the game for people who want to try hard it. Whenever we kind of brought up doing this, I thought, why don't I do this? Because I've played through this game, I think, 2-3 times. This would be something different for me to do, to be able to speak on.
Yeah.
And so the bottom left there is the first boss that you fight, called the Flesh Prison, which is a wonderful name. And these little eyes show up, so you can see them there in the picture, and they kind of float around, and they shoot essentially the revolver shot at you. And you have to shoot them. They're kind of a one-hit with the revolver, but if you don't kill them in time, that's what that green countdown is. That bar decreases. If you don't kill them, they like start vibrating green and connect lines to the Flesh Prison, and every single one that there's like a total there of like maybe 10 or something. Each one is about 1/10 of his health. Each one you don't kill, he regains 1/10 of his health. So if you don't hit any of them, he fully heals back to full health. And during this fight, you have one of those purple death orbs that chases you the whole time. So this fight was like super challenging, but it wasn't too bad. Kind of once you figured it out and you're able to manage like, and I think that the frequency increases of that green bar decreasing. So the longer you take to do it, the faster they will heal him. So you have to be quick with it, but also not get shot and hit. And and he also does that. You fight the enemy later, but you know that like it's like that bluish orb thing with wings, and Maxor calls it the Wrath of Allah or something.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
pull
the
out a
light.
railgun
So
and shoot it.
there's 2 of those in this fight as well.
Nice.
Not the enemy, just the attack. 2 of those attacks.
Oh.
So super challenging. But after you kill him, you get to fight Minos Prime, which is pretty fun. And he was probably the hardest boss I've fought in the game. He's just insanely fast. It's a huge room, and he flies all over it. I can't even describe to you some of the moveset, but the only benefit to this fight is you can pretty much parry every single attack of his. So once you kind of learn how they're telegraphed and all that, it's not too challenging, but there are 2 phases, and it introduces different kinds of attacks. But pretty hard, pretty difficult. So I was able to do that for my playthrough because I thought, why not? There is a second P rank one for Act 2. I did not do that. I did not have time to do that. But it is here. We'll talk about it. But I just didn't get around to doing it. But just thought I'd share that with you guys because I thought it was really interesting.
Do they checkpoint Minos Prime after the Flesh Prison?
Yes, they do.
Okay, thank goodness.
Yeah, that was when I did that, I was like, no way, man. Like, if that's gonna suck, like if you die, and Midas Prime is hard. At least to me, it was pretty hard.
I love Radagon into Elton.
I was literally about to say the same
Yeah,
fucking
exactly
thing.
Yeah, there's the harder fights in Final Fantasy 14. Sometimes there just aren't checkpoints,
Oh,
and
fun.
you're
sure,
running with 8 guys at the same time. So sometimes you just die.
Oh, sure. Well, you gotta love it. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys because that I thought was really interesting, and yeah, I thought I'd do it to mix it up a little bit for my playthrough.
Yeah, awesome. Because I definitely wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't
because
think
like
I'd
D's get degrees.
I explored a decent amount and literally found almost none of the secrets.
You're
like
hidden, man.
Like I felt like I was being pretty thorough.
I
found
found a
like I
couple of
found-
things super cool.
Yeah, like I found the blue orb under one of the bridges in the desert level. I was pretty. I felt like I was exploring pretty thoroughly, and then you're just like, and then you can play the witness, and then there's a Crash Bandicoot level, and I'm like, holy shit, because you're describing all this stuff, and I'm like, I thought Gabriel was plenty of content, bro.
Sure.
I spent a couple hours on Gabriel, bro.
It's really impressive how much is in this game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think is just really interesting. Is they really put so much
hang
error.
on, real quick.
Yeah.
Did anyone play with the PlayStation graphics?
No, I didn't. It's a little too jarring for me.
At like the very beginning, it asks you which aesthetic you want to play with,
And
PSX, it's like the
right?
and the PSX. You know what? Oh man, if we can get our hands on like a shitty like CRT TV,
yeah,
with like an HDMI to RGB adapter, maybe Ultrakill with PSX graphics on a CRT TV.
That could be fun.
That's the move. Like
that might be the
need
move.
a really beige adapter
That'd
for
be
that.
so sick.
Yeah, like because some older style games, like the way they're animated, like the old Mortal Kombat games, like like 1, 2, and 3, look very weird on modern displays.
Yeah,
because they were animated and colored and designed for like cabinet displays, which are not modern like display technology. And it's like I wonder what kind of vibe you'd get from like a 4:3 display PSX on a CRT TV Ultrakill. I bet it'd be rad.
I'm assuming so, just because like that's like the type of obviously the style that they kind of like go for, but obviously it's more in a modernized sense. And so a lot of these boomer shooters that have this type of style, that have that type of filter that makes the game look like that, for anyone who's insane enough to actually set all that up, or if they're even more insane, play it like that on a modern screen, but it's so like disorienting looking.
Well, perfect.
But I just wanted to ask if anyone was playing with the
sure
PlayStation graphics, because I think I toggled it, moved the mouse quickly once or twice, and I'm like, that's gonna make me sick, and I turned it off.
Yep. Alrighty, perfect. Well, we can go ahead and jump into Act 2, which this is the one he's waiting for.
Oh yeah,
I think this is my favorite.
Let's
layer
go.
Oh yeah, okay,
but
sure.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, no. So this is a pretty interesting layer. So you're pretty much in Egypt, right? Essentially, more or less.
With the Statue of Liberty and Big Ben.
Yeah, and Big Ben. To quote Maxor, the British are real. But yeah, I thought this layer overall was pretty fun, pretty interesting. I like the sand kind of mechanic. It made it a little bit hot lava vibes. So thought that was cool though. What were your guys' thoughts?
My first, this was the first, like, I believe in 4-1, like level 4-1 was like the first time I kind of like noticed like where I guess you could say the music like jived with me, because I think like with like the first, like with the prelude and in Act 1, like the music itself wasn't like hitting for me in general, I think like and probably during like boss fights, I'm sure some of the boss fight music was sick. It's just like I was more focused just on like fighting the boss probably. And but it was when like the first encounter, right when you step out and see that pyramid and you have some of those like, really weak enemies that just die with one punch like come at you and the music actually kicks in a little bit. Like I was like, "Oh shit, like the music's going hard right now."
Mm-hmm.
I think 4-2 has the best name out of all the levels in the game. I think when I saw that for the first time, I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is so sick.
Yeah.
And I just love the aesthetic of this level, stepping out and seeing the color and the
looks
freaking
great.
just the silhouette of that giant like gargantuan pyramid in the background. I was like, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, no, and I thought so there's a little fun fact. I'll like to just throw all these fun facts at you guys. But for I don't even know how you say that. Is it Sisyphean? Sisyphean? Sisyphean?
Yeah, it's
Okay, yeah.
The Greek myth is Sisyphus, so it'd be Sisyphean.
Yeah.
Sisyphean. Okay, gotcha. So
Sisyphean.
for that fight, I don't know if you remember kind of leading into that stage, but there was the red and the blue skull, and you had to go to the left and right and grab him, bring him, and then he kind of falls down. So the funny thing is, if you go to, I think it's the red skull side, the right side when you're looking at the boss, there's a glass floor there. So later on, if you come back to this with the grapple hook, this was a challenge for the level. You can from there grapple hook throw the red skull onto its pedestal so the boss spawns and stand on that glass and he'll jump attack and land on you and fall through the glass and die immediately.
That's incredible. That is so specific.
Yeah. But that's a secret. That was like the challenge of the level. I think it says kill the boss with it like in less than 20 seconds or something. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's how you do it. So I just thought
coded
that was really
something
interesting.
very specifically for it.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought it was kind of funny. Little nod to that.
I
But
think Whiplash is really cool. I think like in terms of like gap closers, not a lot of games do this very well. But I think Ultrakill's grapple hook is really, really slick. Like the way you connect to enemies and pull them toward you or sling to them.
Yeah.
It all feels really good.
No, I agree. I like that a lot. And that's like definitely that kind of like changes a little bit of the pacing of the game. To me, it felt like kind of what Doom 2016 was to Doom Eternal, where just like the movement capabilities. With just that introduction, I'm like, I'm freaking all over the place now when I'm playing this. Like I already can move quick, but now I can like get to enemies and engage faster. And I did like the debuff of that though. If you noticed, when you would grapple hook, it would gray out part of your health. So
I didn't know that was a direct thing.
Yeah, so you couldn't just grapple to an enemy to heal and like punch them. It would debuff you because obviously that's easy to get close to enemies. So it would let you get close, but it wouldn't let you heal fully. So I thought that was also a really interesting mechanic that they implemented.
I
chalked that up to the sand. I assumed that was just you've been in sand, so here's a health debuff. I didn't realize that was grapple hook related. Okay.
Well, I remember I was trying to read the little instruction about like the gray thing. What was it called?
There's a term for it. It's like
what's the term when you
some
get
kind of
what's that debuff called?
Oh, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, that.
But it's called like gray something, and I was trying to read it.
Gray health.
Yeah, I was trying to read the tutorial about it, and then it disappeared before I could finish it, and so like I didn't understand what it was. I was like, well, I guess I'll figure it out, but I never.
Just like, well, that wasn't important.
Because I definitely used it to close the gap and heal a bunch, and I don't think I ever noticed it wasn't working.
No, honestly, like I did it all the time too. It doesn't like negatively impact you that much. It was just interesting that they threw it in there. Yeah. So I liked it.
The term is called hard damage. Apparently,
hard damage. Okay.
And I use the grapple hook against those floaty stone boys a lot to be able to get in and shoot them with like the shotgun and do a lot of damage.
Definitely. And so V2, this fight, I think everybody said that this time around it was significantly harder.
Yeah.
I think in this fight they introduced him being able to do coins. If you actually threw coins, he would shoot your coins if you weren't fast enough.
I noticed that.
So it added a lot more mechanics to the fight. So what was your guys' experience with that?
He was just a lot more like faster, and just had to, I was just bad at like parrying anything, so I just kind of just brute forced it and just kept running in and just trying to avoid all of his shots and shoot him as much as I can. and just swapping between weapons and just basically just trying to do as much damage as I possibly could. So that's probably why it was a lot more difficult for me, because I just kind of brute forced it. I didn't like parry or anything like that. But the fucking part where he escapes and you slide down the goddamn pyramid, like shooting at him,
he's
was
very
like
cool. I love that.
Was amazing. It was so sick.
Big Sonic Adventure 2 vibe there.
Yeah. Brian, any thoughts?
I misunderstood how far we were supposed to play. I thought we were just supposed to beat Gabriel. So I beat the Insurrectionist, and then I stopped playing. I didn't realize we were supposed to play it all out. My bad.
No, that's okay. Are we okay with continuing the discussion?
That's fine.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah. So then I know, Ian, you're probably very excited to talk about this one. I was hoping you would find this one, so I'm glad you even if it was through a Steam help, it assisted you.
I just saw it on the Steam community page.
I also might have looked this up after beating all of the game and thought, I'm playing that right now.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the ones with the really unique. You would not have guessed that probably, right? I remember like my first playthrough, I went up to the top there and I found that pedestal and I was like, well, okay, where the hell is this thing? And I looked it up later. But I got that far figuring out where you put that little totem to like make it night. But yeah. So Ian, did you love it or hate it, or I know you're talking about playing through Crash Bandicoot right now, so that's why I was like, oh, perfect.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny because I'm actually in the process of 100%ing Crash 1 through 4 right now. And I grew up playing Crash Bandicoot. It's literally the reason why I play video games. It's like the first like game I independently played and beat by myself. So the fact that there was a like homage to Crash Bandicoot in this game, and it goes in the third person, and you're like basically doing all the same things, and you can like dash, jump, and all that stuff. They didn't have like all the quirks of like the movement, but the movement was also terrible. It was not good because you're on a keyboard, and so like probably even like the normal Crash Bandicoot probably feels just as bad on a fucking keyboard. But also the physics and stuff, especially since I'm playing the actual Crash Bandicoot right now, the physics are way different. So I died a lot trying to go through this fucking level. But it's funny seeing like the charm of it and all. Like when you jump on top of someone, they just explode into a bloody mess. And then
it's really good.
When you in the original games, when you spin someone, they just go flying off in a distance, and they literally do that in this.
Yeah.
So like they just fly off and just like
the sound effect. This is a legally distinct version of a Crash 3 warped Egypt level. Like,
oh, is it? Okay.
This is very specific what they're doing here.
Yeah.
And it's like the only thing that keeps this let's say infringing from copyright is like the shape of the crates. Like they're kind of too long.
Yeah, they're kind of like rectangular.
But they have like the same question marks with the same color on them. Like everything about this is
the ribbed ones you can jump on.
This is pitch perfect.
Yeah.
Like if you jump into the sand, V1 will burn up and turn to ash just like Crash would.
Yep. It's like, so good.
There's a boulder section near the end, just like Crash Bandicoot. Like
so, like they're riding the line of transformative fair use.
This is like such a huge piece of fandom. It's really impressive. I did the challenge to get all the crates in the level, which was a nightmare because I think they intentionally designed this to be fucky and slippery and hard to control.
Yeah, because there's a part where you're jumping across these moving platforms while one of those like angel things are like, you know, when they have like the AoE thing, and it's just like constantly shooting at you while you're doing that. And so I got kind of tired of trying to get all the boxes and avoid that thing at the same time. So like by the end I missed like 3 boxes, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. But that was sick.
Yeah, so your prize for getting all the crates in the Crash level is not a crystal or a
gem.
Diamond, right? It's Clash mode, which means you get to play as V1 Crash in the main game itself. You can just turn on Clash mode and you can spin dudes. It's crazy. I love that footage of it.
That's so sick.
You can just whatever levels. I wonder how that works with certain bosses. I bet it doesn't.
Actually, yeah, that's a good question, huh? Yeah,
spin Leviathan, I wonder.
Yeah, and also the name is Clash of the Brandicoot.
Yeah, it's It's so good. Like you can see in the picture, like there's the statue enemies in the hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
Like that is straight from Warped. Like it's not the exact same art, but like the way
Oh,
that
Very
they have
close.
drawn
Yeah.
those pictures in the background is how they did it in the Egypt levels in Warped.
Yeah,
It's so specific.
I never played Warped, unfortunately, and I know that's like regarded as like the best one. And so, but when I was a kid, I just played whatever was in the house, and so I only had Crash 1 when I was a kid. So I'm enjoying playing through 2 and 3 right now.
Yeah, they are very. They're trying to mimic the PS1 Warped aesthetic very hard there,
Okay.
and it's very cool. It's a love letter. That's the word I was looking for. I love this. I love this to death.
Yeah, and actually, I've never played a Crash Bandicoot game, so that's why I was actually really interested to hear your guys' perspective.
Yeah.
Because I've never played it, so I was like, oh, this is fun, but like it didn't hit the nostalgia for me. So,
As someone who loves Warped a lot, this is fantastic.
oh sure. Well, and then I think I actually don't have it on here, but I just thought I'd bring it up. There is a hidden boss in this game, or this level in the layer. I think it's a shot in the dark whenever you're walking through with the torch. Before you get to that big room with like all the 6 different platforms, I think, and all of the enemies are there.
Yeah.
There's a tomb you can enter, and you drop a skull on it, and a guy wearing a helmet with a little owl on his shoulder. He's a skeleton. He's like floating, and he just like blasts you. So he's a hidden boss. The name is Mysterious Druid Knight (parentheses) and Owl. I don't know who this is, but it's voiced by Mandalore Gaming. I don't know who that is, but they are
Mandalore Gaming is a gaming YouTuber who like very much this kind of indie game kind of deal. Like this is the kind of game that he shouts out and makes sure that people get eyeballs on. So it's like,
yeah,
he's part of the gaming YouTuber reviewer kind of subculture.
I think I've
that
heard of him before.
That like ensures that a certain percentage of these kinds of games make it to mass appeal, because they make a habit of like taking these games and elevating them and making sure people can see them. So seeing him in one of these games is very it's very funny. It's like seeing Cole Carnage or whatever being in like Baldur's Gate.
Cole Carnage is in Baldur's Gate?
Cole Carnage is in Baldur's Gate. Apparently he's some very annoying guy.
That's funny. He's a very annoying guy in Cyberpunk too.
Is Jesse Cox the guy who gets his penis spiked with a virus or something?
Yeah, with the Mr. Stud. I know what you're talking about.
Anyway. Mandalore Gaming is a YouTube gamer. Who makes a habit of reviewing and elevating smaller games that are just as good.
Yeah, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. It's a pretty cool little detail. I thought that's cool bringing in people maybe who quote unquote aren't voice actors, or I'm not sure if he's done voice acting work, but still just bringing out like a function of the community into the game. Cool. I thought that was pretty cool.
He's a YouTuber who like his physical appearance has not been part of his brand or persona, so he is all voice.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, it's a Mandalorian helmet. I'm obviously assuming. I think right. This is like a logo. I'm assuming. Anyway,
it's like a knight with like a red cape and like a gold tuft and a little I forget what they're called. The little brown guy who's just a pair of legs with a head that looks like an otter or something.
I don't know.
Mimic, but like.
Never mind. It's fine. It's like a
groundhog.
No, it's like a 4chan character.
Oh,
Domo.
Nope. The other one. It's not a Domo.
All right.
Yeah, there are more than one brown guys.
You'll remember it at the end of the video.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I'm looking it up right now because I can't talk about the game because I didn't fucking play it.
No, you're good. You watch Maxor's video, so I'm sure you're in. Well, we could jump to Layer 5.
Yeah.
So this one I think is honestly pretty quick. We get kind of introduced to some interesting enemies. I think the sentry's introduced into this one, where you got to shoot them with the revolver to counter them. You also get the rocket launchers, so that's kind of a pretty fun weapon. Where I think you're probably figured out, but if they're in the air and you shoot them, I think the game tells you it does like more explosive damage on like a wider scale if you hit the enemy while they're in the air.
Yeah, they want you to TF2 rocket juggle them.
Yeah,
basically.
And so, Ian, to answer your question from earlier about how to get to that platform, with the stop time function of this, you can shoot the rocket, jump, and then unfreeze it and like ride the rocket. So that's kind of how they
That's
introduced you
awesome.
to get to some more abstract areas, which is actually involved in why you see Hamster in the bottom left. I'll
I
go over
know,
why
what the
there's
fuck.
Hamster. But yeah, so kind of what were your thoughts of this? The large, I think, takeaways from this is the ferryman and the Leviathan. So
Yeah.
what was your guys' experience?
I think I'm a big fan of Ship of Fools because it gives you the ship, and then it does the subversion where it capsizes and then floods.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
It
really, really
flips.
cool as
Yeah.
a level design idea.
yeah, I agree. I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought I found the ferryman's journal, and it was just it's just like a generic ass like he talks about the river Styx overflowing and turning into an
Mhm.
actual ocean and stuff, and then him like being sucked into the water, but then Gabriel saves him because he has faith in God or something like that, and that's who
Mhm.
then you fight as the ferryman. But I always found it funny that whenever you picked up a journal and read it, at the bottom it eventually just said like rest of text irrelevant, and so I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I like that. And the so for the Leviathan fight, out of curiosity, um, so there's like a screaming baby thing on top of it. Did any of you encounter that? Did you try grappling to the Leviathan by any
Oh
chance
no, I
during the
never
Are
fight?
you
actually
not?
grappled to it, but I shot it because I noticed it was a weak point.
You're not
Yeah,
talking about the guy back, like the big red guy on his back. You're
Yeah,
not talking about
yeah, no,
him.
that guy.
but
Yeah,
it
that
looks
guy.
like a
Oh
baby.
yeah,
Yeah, it like
uh,
looks, it's like screaming
Yeah,
like really loudly.
that's the weak point. You got to
Yeah.
shoot him.
yeah.
He's full
No,
of
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
spears.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people, there's some people apparently that experience is kind of like laying into the boss. It takes way longer and you just stand on the platform and dodge.
Mhm.
Oh boy,
But
that
yeah,
would take a
it
long
takes a
time.
long time. But there's some pretty funny results, at least when I played, of trying to grapple him and he like goes underwater and it feels like you're fishing. I don't know.
Oh,
It's pretty silly. But yeah, that fight actually I thought was pretty fun. I enjoyed it personally. It's a bigger scale fight than some of the other ones you've encountered.
Mhm.
I like that one too. There's like this. This is a really good game for bosses. Like every boss in this is,
Yeah.
if not great, then at least really unique and cool. Like I don't think it misses.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. All the enemy design is pretty unique, and they all present unique challenges. I think that could be countered in a functional way. So, like there is a way to fight them. You don't just throw everything at it and hope it works. Like there's a preferred way. Um, yeah, and then I'm trying to honestly for me at least out of this one, I think this was probably one of the least notable layers. Like I didn't really get that much out of it. I agree with the level design, like you're saying, that was really cool.
Yeah, and being able to kind of jump around in the water was pretty fun too. But
Yeah.
I I was kind of glad whenever you did start fighting the Leviathan, you do end up on like the actual like a dock. You're not fighting him underwater.
Yeah.
Um,
No, yeah.
but it was kind of cool, like that top right image where you kind of like see like a flash of lightning. You're
Mhm.
able to see his tentacle off in the distance before you like go towards him. It's really cool.
Yeah. No, I like the build up for
But
sure.
this game's presentation is very well done. Is the best way to say it.
Yeah. It definitely stages a lot of that like you should be afraid or you should be intimidated kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like oh a boss fight's coming. Like I don't know. It just does a good job of that. Like especially with Gabriel talking to you before both fights.
Yeah.
That's really really cool and really interesting. I like that. Uh Yeah, so there's two secrets in this one. I actually did not do the bottom right one. I just know it exists. I don't know how you get to it, but you get to it, and it's just fishing. You just catch fish. That's all you
Yeah,
do.
there's a
You
bunch
have
of
a fishing
different
rod.
fish. I
Awesome.
looked into
Yeah.
this. Apparently, you can catch the dope fish from
Yes.
id, which is pretty good.
Oh.
But yeah,
Uh,
there's all that.
there's the title is a meme in that it's I only say morning, because if it was a good morning, I'd be fishing.
Oh, I
Yes.
didn't know that. That's funny. That's that secret level. Again, kind of just weird, but yeah. Apparently, there's an interactive credit scene, and I guess all the fish you catch can go in like an aquarium there. I think.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's pretty cool. The other one, so this has to do with Hamter. So on the ship, whenever you see it come out of the water, there's 3 chimney stacks. The first one, if you rocket jump, that's kind of why I have that shotgun with its secondary fire on it. That you rocket jump up into there and you find Hamter. I think I forget what they call it. It's an item in the game, and it's not hamster, but it's something else. But you find hamster, which has babies. There's little babies there, and you take it to the top of the tower you entered, and that one's pretty tricky. You have to do what I mentioned earlier with the freeze time rocket, and you ride the rocket all the way to the top, and then you find a cage of, I think it's is it Hakita is the creator. It's like his avatar profile picture. He has like this little, I think it's a Fumo something. It's in a cage, and you get text about release me and provide me a sacrifice. So you sacrifice Hamster, and Hamster explodes.
Oh,
No.
And then the Fumo like avatar rises out of the sea like it's massive, like it's stupid big. And when it fully comes out of the screen, I think it says, "I will now I will destroy this world," and then the game crashes. So
that's incredible. I cannot believe how many secrets there are in this game.
Yeah,
The
so a little
game
silly.
crashes. That's amazing.
Yeah, it automatically crashes the game, so that's pretty fun. But yeah, so that's it pretty much for this one, which I think puts us to the end of the game here. So this again, we're just pretty much all there is to talk about is Gabriel. This does kind of do that gauntlet of bosses leading up to that, which actually I thought was pretty challenging. You pretty much fight every single boss you fought in the game, I think, in some capacity.
Yeah.
And that was pretty hard.
Besides
but
the
I think it was
huge
pretty
ones.
fun. Besides what?
Besides the huge ones.
Yeah.
And, you don't come across like Sisyphus though, but
Yeah. And you fight, like the, I guess, Cerberus and the Hideous Mass. You fight two of those, which is an interesting.
That was a hard fight. That was harder than some of the bosses, I think.
Yeah. Oh, sure. No, that one's tough. That one's tough. But yeah, so you have this kind of gauntlet leading up, and then this very beautiful, I think, the organ solo and the narration. I don't know. It was just beautiful. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, this fight was hard as fuck. This definitely took me there was a point where it took me so long that I just quit to the menu and restarted because I didn't want to see how long I had been fighting him. So then then when the second time I reloaded it, then I was able to get like a 5-minute timer on it. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I did it.
But he was again, kind of like what I did with V2. I feel like I was just like brute forcing it. I did try parrying a bit more, but like trying to parry and learn parry against the second fight of Gabriel is not exactly a good idea, so I wasn't doing very good. So again, just kind of brute force it, just avoided his attacks as much as I could and just switched between weapons as much as possible just to kind of like vary up the damage and stuff. And again, just start with the railgun, switch, and just keep switching and all that. But yeah, I mean, it was challenging, and then you're finally able to bring him down and all that. But yeah.
I when I first went for Gabriel version, this is where you fight Gabriel too, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first on my first fight with him, I took a screenshot. I got him down to about a 6th health out of the second life bar. I was like, I almost did him a one shot. And I was kicking him because I couldn't seal the deal. I was like, oh, it was so close. It's a good fight though. I really like that one a lot.
Yeah, and I liked like he throws his sword and you can parry that. There's a lot of actual things. Yeah, you parry it and it launches back at him.
Okay, well, I wasn't parrying it. That was the freaking attack that probably killed me 90% of the time.
Oh, sure.
Facing this guy was that goddamn sword throw. It was ridiculous. I just could not like get the timing down on that dodge.
Definitely. Yeah, the dodge. Yeah. No, go ahead.
I usually got by the 1, 2, 3 sword swipes because he would just swing at you.
Yeah, and I noticed there's a pretty unique timing differential where like he'll jump up and he'll cut down, and you hear that little like chirp, and then dodge, chirp, dodge.
Yeah,
like when you kind of figure that out. But it's even that is like you gotta be moving still and then you dash. Like it's a pretty challenging fight overall. And I've heard, I don't know, but I've heard P ranking him in this is very hard.
Sure. I can't even imagine doing it.
Because not even do you need to just kill him. You need to do it with style, which is the hard part.
Oh yeah, you probably got to be at Ultrakill, right?
Yeah, you have to at least. So I've noticed from the general components, it's like parrying your shotgun or doing coins. Those are some really easy ways to get damage. Using the nail gun, like with the magnets, that works pretty well too. But he floats, so that makes that kind of challenging. But yeah, so like those are the best ways to get style, but just switching between all those weapons in a fight, like to P rank V2 second fight, I pretty much had to do coins and punching my shotgun shells. That was like the only way to do it. So definitely hard to P rank him. I didn't P rank Act 2. But if you do P rank Act 2, you get to fight those two other bosses there. I am gonna mess this up, but the Flesh Panopticon.
Panopticon.
Okay, thank you. Panopticon. Yeah, I'm like geometry. Don't start throwing that at me. And then Sisyphus.
Sisyphus.
Prime.
Sisyphus.
Yeah, and it's kind of a revamp of that boss you fought before, but I hear. So I told you how the Flesh Prison and Minos were very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's nothing compared to these two.
Oh,
so it's just insanely hard. I didn't do it, but
yeah, fuck that shit.
Well, I was starting to. I got halfway through P ranking Act 2, and then I was like, it's Wednesday and we're recording on Friday, so I'm not gonna do that.
Oh, goddamn.
But yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's pretty much everything. So I just kind of wanted to throw it out there for any closing thoughts or any big takeaways that you guys had or things you really enjoyed overall.
I got a little bit of trivia real quick. That Sisyphus is voiced by the main protagonist in Disco Elysium, who is this like washed up booze hound detective guy. And I heard a couple of his voice lines in the wiki for Ultrakill. And he actually does a lot more emotion in that. It's pretty cool. I think that's a really cool cameo.
I need to play that game.
It's good. It's like a playable book.
Yeah, you can beat it in like 10-15 hours.
Yeah, around there. You also need to have a reading comprehension, and my attention span is pretty bad nowadays, so it's hard for me to do that.
Yeah, the most recent edition of the game added narration and voice acting for a lot of stuff. Yeah.
But
anyway, closing thoughts.
The narrators were good.
Yeah, the narration is very good in that game. This is a great game. I really enjoyed this. There's a lot of different mechanics they do for this that make this like really stellar. I think some of the mechanics are like really vital to how good the movement in this feels. Like the control slam to slam on the ground in the middle of a jump is. If you take that out of the game, you don't have this game. You have another game that's a lot like Ultrakill, but it's not as good. Like there's so many individual parts to this that make it really stellar. And also the twirling gun is sick, and I can't get over how good that is or how good that feels.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Act 3, which is supposed to be the last act, right?
Yeah. And then the game's fully released, to my understanding.
So I'm looking forward to Act 3 whenever that comes out. It's kind of funny because I follow New Blood like on Twitter and the owner and stuff of New Blood, and so I see Ultrakill would pop up on my timeline from here and now, and so it's kind of cool to actually finally play it. And it kind of makes me want to go back and play Dusk now because I never finished Dusk, and Dusk is really sick, and the soundtrack in that game is also very fucking good as well. And it's kind of like a lot more my jam as well, with like it's just dark and grimy and gross, and that's just like my shit. And then this one is very much your shit, Jordan, where it's like, you know, sci-fi, but kind of I mean, it has some fantastical elements to it, but I would say like this is like definitely like in terms of style and like story and what it looks like, this is definitely up your alley. But yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward, and I had a lot of fun playing this game. And it's challenging, and that's, you know, I typically like challenging games and challenging myself. And Brian brought up the twirling gun, you know, the ricochet shot on the pistol. I would definitely say the pistol was my favorite weapon in the game. I just typically just like pistols in games in general. And I had all the variations equipped, so I was like equipping between all of them. But my favorite thing to do was if I was in a very enclosed room with very simple geometry and parallel walls, I would do a twirl shot and shoot it directly at an enemy, so it would bounce back and forth. Like I don't know, it bounced back and forth until the bullet like disappeared, and it would hit the same enemy like over and over and over. And the sound, and like I sort of got it looked like my computer was like dying every time I did that because of all the blood particle effects flying everywhere, and just like the sound effects, and it always felt so good, especially against those like stone, like the statue dudes with the orbs. They're like the ones I did it to the most, and so it was very fun. It's always fun just kind of like discovering your own little like ways to like manipulate like the tools that you have in the game. So but yeah, definitely looking forward to Act 3, and thank you for suggesting it, Jordan.
Yeah, it's quite a treat. Very good. I would like to mention there are a couple moments in the game where my computer seized up by just how much was going on, either from hit stop or just killing dudes, and I would be like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah,
What's going on?
in the desert level, there's a dual wield pickup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
if you clear the room fast enough, or they're not gated, so you can just go get one pickup and then go get another one in an adjacent room, and you can have 4 guns. And I remember having 4 spinny moves, and then just the colossal amount of hit stop when I let 4 fully charged ricochet shots go. Like my computer froze for a second from the might of that attack.
More damage than a Zangief spinning pile driver.
Yeah.
Just let that sink in.
That's what's funny about like the design philosophy behind this game. It's just kind of like it sounds like, as Jordan, you told me, oh, if you have the dual wield and you spin the weapons, you can pretty much fly. You told us that, and so it's just so funny because you can just see like someone making a joke about like, oh, I'm helicoptering or something like that, like while they're developing the game or something, and then you're like, you know what, let's put that in, and they just put it in, you know. And it's just that design philosophy is like, that sounds cool and stupid, let's fucking put it in, and it like, and it works. And so that's what's that type of like I don't know if culture is the right word, but like I think you know what I mean. Just like that.
It's called the rule of cool.
There's also the phrase "for the culture," which is the act of doing something because it would be better doing it than not doing it.
Yeah.
You do it for the culture.
Well, and I think that's like, I mean, I have to throw a Rocket League plug somewhere in there, but it reminds me of like putting a mechanic in place and then players just kind of figuring it out, and they're like, oh, this is a thing now, and the devs are like, I guess it's a thing now.
Yeah.
I think that's where they just put the initial mechanics in place and they didn't really think about it past that, if that makes sense. Because there's a lot in this game that I just think is really interesting as far as the layers of the mechanics and the level of things that you can do, that I think most games would put a curb on that and limit the creativity, but the devs, I think, are like, no, go freaking nuts. Like with, there's a lot of things like being able to, how you're doing the ricochet shot, like with the face, if you shoot the ricochet shot at a bullet, like one of the red little orbs that they shoot at you, it explodes it and like detonates it. So when the hideous face thing does that, that ricochet shot goes through all of the shots that they shot in a perfect line, and it just creates like a giant line of explosions.
So it took me a really long time to figure out what was happening.
Yeah.
When I would let a ricochet shot fly at a funny rock, and then my screen would just detonate, and I would be halfway through the skybox.
Yeah.
Like it took me a really long time before I understood what was happening. And I think I went back to Ricochet and I read it, and it's a fully charged shot detonates any projectiles that it comes into contact with. And I'm like, oh, it's just exploding every one of those projectiles at once. Oh, that's what's happening.
Yeah, and there was like another version or aspect of that is the same thing with the coin. So if anybody is charging their gun when you shoot the coin and it hits them while they're charging it, it detonates it in their gun, like in their hand. And same thing with those flamethrower dudes. If you throw the coin over their head, it ricochets a shot into the tank on their back and explodes them. So there's like so many different levels of mechanics and ways you fight enemies. Like it just like keeps the fun. See, it just actually to quote Maxor again, it sends the fun ceiling into the stratosphere. I just feel like you could play this game over and over and over again and keep figuring out different ways to do things, and that just keeps it really exciting and engaging. And on top of that, a little nod I wanted to add too is there is a creative mode, and it's like the sandbox from Gary's mod, like literally verbatim, which is pretty funny. It's literally just Gary's mod, and you can spawn.
Built into the game?
It's built into the game, and it lets you spawn enemies. You can create geometry, so you can make levels.
You access it through the terminal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a console command, huh?
Well, no, like in the game where you buy the
like
weapons.
Like the little circus of values
Circus of Value.
computer.
It's just
like
a button. Okay.
Yeah, it's like hey, if you want to toy around with like different gun combinations on different kinds of enemies, you can see what the damage values would be if you want to practice and stuff like that. Or if you just want to spawn 20 Gabriels and have them fight 20 V2s.
And that's the other thing. So
That's
I did
awesome.
that to go to your comment about the dual wielding. I spawned like 20 of those, and there's no limit. So I had 20 guns.
What the fuck?
So you could shoot 20 rail guns if you wanted to.
Yeah,
And it
That's
they just spawned infinitely
Yeah.
left and right of your model, right?
And it just keeps going. So if you use the revolver when you shoot, you can look to your right and you see your gun that's like a mile away from you, like just shooting. Which
This
is just
early
great.
access game has more
Yeah.
to it than The Last of Us.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just I don't know. It adds a little bit
A
of
better
charm
forge
to the
than
game.
than
So
Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, thank you everybody for indulging me and giving this game a shot. I really like it. I thought it was a quick and dirty we could do. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for letting us know about it. It was fun. It's quite a treat.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing it.
Man, one hell of a game.
Ian, do you
Really
have
got my
a?
blood pumping
Yeah,
right
now I can just like do
I
an
got hot
outro.
blood going through me fast. I hit F a bunch of times.
I felt really full
I'm a
of blood.
pioneer. I'm an android. I'm made of meat.
gay.
That's
Made of me.
that's the
Turn
outro.
the freaking demons gay.
that's
Put chemicals in the blood.
that's the outro. So thank you everybody. Goodbye. I'll catch you later. Oh, like, comment, subscribe. All right, bye.
Go forth, my children, in the name of like, share, and subscribe.